first of all, this is a complete infringement on the Second Amendment. So it's unconstitutional at its core. And then you have the power to fix it. So fix it. Welcome to Gun Owners of America's State of the Second podcast. I'm Kailey.
And I'm John. And today we're here with Dustin from Cole-Tac. How are you, my friend?
Outstanding. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being on. Can you give the folks a little bit of backstory about your company and what you guys all do?
Yeah. So Cole-Tac and my wife and I, we started it in our spare bedroom in New Hampshire back in 2015, kind of by accident. So I got into suppressed shooting and wanted a suppressor cover. So I bought somebody's cover, and the first day out, I actually destroyed it. And so then I brought it to my wife, who's a sewing wizard. I'm like, hey, can you fix this? And then I had to confess how much I spent on it and got in trouble for that. And her comment was, oh, I could have made something so much better for less. And so we tinkered around, made one for myself. And then at the time I was working for Ruger out in New Hampshire. And so I made it for myself. My buddies at the shop saw it and they're like, hey, can you make me one? So like, all right, yeah, let's do that. And it's supposed to just be like we said, we'll put up a small website just as like a side hobby business for my wife. And here we are now, 9 years later. We have hundreds of different products. We moved all operations from New Hampshire to South Dakota, actually. Back in 2021, we started that, and it took us almost 2 years to do it. And we have 29 employees at this point, growing and manufacturing all sorts of different hunting, shooting, and tactical gear for both civilians, law enforcement, and military members.
That's awesome. I love that you're the mentality of anything you can do, I can do better. And your wife just coming out and just like crushing it immediately. And here you are, a few years later with a whole team behind you and supporting.
Right.
That's pretty awesome. If that's not the American dream, I really don't know what is.
Right. No, it's kind of wild to think about, the route that we took and the path that we got there. It's like kind of that dream in it, but it's because we have a team now and we can actually get like the volumes that we're doing now. What used to scare us when it was just my wife and I, oh my goodness, we have 8 covers to make this week. And it was like, terrifying. So how are we going to get this done? And now, I mean, we're doing hundreds and hundreds and it still baffles me. I wonder how many suppressors are getting transferred every day because we're making covers, and it's just, I don't know where they're going, but they're going to customers, I guess.
It's hopefully just the start, and we really want to see suppressors come out of the NFA, and we want to see the complete abolishment of the NFA. And I can't wait for the day that you can just go and purchase your suppressor and be able to have fun and practice and do all of the things that good law-abiding Americans want to do with their suppressors and hunters and everyone else.
Right.
It's such an awesome thing to see the popularity rise, because that's how we're going to be able to make this change and win in this fight.
Right. For sure. And I mean, we're already seeing it. I don't know what's happened in the last couple of months, but we've seen wait times plummet. And with that, as soon as wait times plummet, you see this giant influx of people buying suppressors because they don't want to wait for them. And then inevitably here in a couple of months, the wait times are going to climb up again. And it's all just stupid. There shouldn't be a wait time, like you said. And I can't wait for that day, because it makes shooting so much more enjoyable, both for the shooter and the neighbors and, the people around the ranges. It's one of those devices that there's no reason it's regulated like it is. And I can't wait for that day. Hopefully you guys keep pushing.
Oh, we will definitely keep pushing it. The suppressor arguments always baffle me, because OSHA is like, everyone needs a suppressor. And then the ATF is like, no. And Congress is like, well, it's in a law, so it's so complicated, and it's like, no, like first of all, this is a complete infringement on the Second Amendment. So it's unconstitutional at its core. And then you have the power to fix it. So fix it.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that as we continue to push and as popularity continues to rise and as more states are allowing suppressor use for hunting, and as more people get into the shooting sports and understand that you need to protect your hearing, we're going to see a continued increase, and hopefully that in turn shows people just how important it is to protect and restore our Second Amendment.
For sure.
I couldn't have said it better. You know, it's funny when you talk to like non-gun people about the NFA and you try to explain it, they go, well, what do you mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't I want to shoot with quieter things? Why wouldn't I want a shorter barrel? Like,
well, I do think, you know, Hollywood does us no favor, because I mean, it's only assassins in the movies. So I think that's people's first impression. And you know, it would be nice. I don't know. What's a good, like, pro Second Amendment movie that's like, hey, this is awesome, and we use suppressors? I can't think of any off the top of my head. There needs to be one. Hollywood, help us out, right?
It's putting a lot of trust in those guys.
I know. There's no way. There's no way, but yeah.
Yeah. And so your product line, obviously, you started out with suppressor covers. That's a huge part of your market. But you also do some incredible things with, you know, your hunting packs, your bino packs. How did you make the decision to expand your product lines, and how do you kind of come up with the designs that are unique and functional?
So a lot, it's because I really enjoy shooting and hunting, and so it's a lot of times like, hey, I wish I had a widget to do this. And you know, like a good example is our Rifle Guardian. It's a full-length rifle rain cover, and it came about because I was at a Guardian long range match. If you're familiar with the Guardian, if you're not, you should check them out. It's a great charity fundraiser, long range shooting competition. And that's where I suggest everybody starts their long range shooting adventure. But I was at a match in North Carolina, and it was typical North Carolina, absolutely drenching downpour, just gross weather. And so here I am trying to keep my rifle somewhat dry as we're moving from stage to stage. And I have a shooting mat laying across my rifle, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, come on, we can do, you know, I have a sewing company. We can make something better than that. And so I get home and start cutting and, you know, putting pieces together, and sure enough, come up with a Rifle Guardian, which is, just a big rain cover for a rifle. And, you know, so that's how most of those products come about. It's because, like, I'm out in the field using it. And when I say field, it's competitions, it's hunting. Or, you know, we have professionals out in the field too, who, you know, bring us requests. Some of them, our Brain Bucket bag was a request by a SWAT team down in Georgia that wanted a bag to carry their helmets and wanted a little bit different to fit their needs. So we made it for them. And now we offer it on our website to everybody else too. So it's just a lot of either personal experience or trusting the people who we have good working relationships with. And then, you know, coming up with a way to make the designs actually manufacturable in the USA, which is a weird and hard, concept, because, you know, we're so used to having sewn products for so cheap that coming up with a design that is still competitive and gets the job done, but yet can be manufactured in the U.S., where sewing, in my opinion, is pretty much dead. It's a dead industry. And we have to every person that we have here that's sewing for us either came in with very little or no sewing experience. We're training them from zero. And so finding those designs and making it manufacturable is where our strong suit really comes in, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a sad place in our culture right now that we've almost given up in a lot of ways on buying American. Everyone just kind of views it as like that necessary evil. So it's weird to hear someone that's in that space saying like, this is a dead industry. We're having to train everybody. If we want to bring this back, like we've got to address the skill issue. We've got to make a way and we've got to find a path forward, because that's not how things were previously. And if we lose that piece of American culture, it's not a necessary evil that we're creating. It's just there's no checks and balances. There's no counter swing.
Right. Well, and I mean, COVID was a glaring example. When those ships and planes stopped coming from Asia, our medical supply industry like plummeted on its face. And we actually tooled up and, we manufactured in the spring and summer of 2020. We overnight, actually it was over a weekend. My wife and I, we designed and got the patterns for a hospital gown. We ended up making over 60,000 hospital gowns in just a matter of a couple months. And it was about August of 2020, they were able to get the supply chains back open, and like the orders stopped. And as far as for us, and they're like, oh, we'll just keep using China because it's so much cheaper. And they are significantly cheaper. But like there was 4 months where we had nothing in the US. And I think, I mean, it's if those supply chains shut off again for a longer period, I mean, the clothing, we're gonna have people running around naked in the streets. I mean, it's that serious, because there is no way anybody in the U.S. could even come close to keeping up with the volume that is getting pumped over from there, just in this industry.
Wow. It's, congratulations on being able to solve that very real problem and being willing to take on that task. I don't know that a lot of people would have been willing to shift gears as fast as you guys did. And like, I commend you for that, because that's, we talk about all the time in the firearms industry of being your own first responder. You don't even think about the hospitals needing like those items. Like it's an expected thing in our culture now.
Right. It was kind of funny. The joke in our shop when we were making them is like, hey guys, we got to get this done. Granny's running around in the shop or in the hospital with her butt hanging out. So, it was kind of tongue in cheek, but it was serious too, because they just didn't have it. And and part of it too, and it kind of shows, I would say, yes, we wanted to help. But part of it was out of fear, because it was when they were shutting down non-essential businesses, and what that meant, and what was considered essential and what was not, was just kind of at the government's whim. And so part of it was I wanted to make sure that we were declared essential, so that way our employees could keep working and we could keep these processes going. Luckily, New Hampshire stayed fairly good with that, and anything firearms related was considered essential and never forced full shutdowns. But that was not the case across the rest of the country, and it was kind of scary to see some of those decisions and what people bowed down to so quickly.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know that the live free or die state, kept things open, right?
Right.
And especially when they made the Second Amendment industry, the firearms industry, essential business. It should never have had to come down to that, in my personal opinion.
Of course.
But it is good that we did see so many states, and thankfully we were able to, lobby the White House to do it on the national scale. But during all of COVID, man, what a wild time for all of us. I remember threatening, not me personally, but GOA, the organization, threatening lawsuits in many states, and suing many states and counties because they were just not giving, permits. Like, oh, you're a first time gun owner, you're buying a gun. Well, good luck using it because we're not going to allow you to. Like all of those things were it's just massive government overreach. And it's what a lesson we had to learn during that time.
We learned it, but have we listened to it? So this last weekend I was at a match in a rifle match in Pueblo, Colorado, and talking to those people in Colorado and some of the stuff that's starting to come down there, like government overreach and I don't know. It's kind of scary to hear what some of the stuff that they're facing with the taxes and assault weapons bans, and Colorado's just kind of really shifted a lot from the old cowboy mentality of, out in the West, just crazy. And
there's definitely some states right now that I think Oregon, we look at Illinois, we look at Colorado, and we're seeing the things that they're doing, the attacks on the Second Amendment. And I don't want to say it's shocking because it's not shocking that people in power are doing everything in the world to protect their power, and individual liberty threatens that, right? Like we understand that philosophically. So I don't want to say it comes as a surprise. It is interesting to see when you get out of the population centers, how disgusted people are by the legislation that is introduced and passed, but the apathy that can exist in those communities. And, GOA, we have a definition of what a gun rights activist is, and it's someone who takes personal responsibility not only in the use of their firearms, but in the defense of their right to own them. And that has to be the mantra that each individual carries, even if you're in a blue state, even if you're a state that people want to write off as lost, you still have a voice, and these are your constitutionally protected rights. And so the worst thing that we can do as individuals is stay silent.
Right. Well, and I think even if you're not into firearms, just if they can do that to the one amendment, what stops them from any of the others? And that's the part that I wish we could all rally behind is, keeping that Constitution sacred and whole is absolutely vital. Never mind if you like going to the range or you like guns at all. If that's not your thing, fine, but like just the government overreach should scare everybody.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, our founding fathers made the First Amendment, gave us the right to free speech and be able to speak our mind. And right after that, they said, hey, we need to protect this. So they gave us the right to keep and bear arms. And, they were very wise men. And those 27 words are very, very outlined to go, cool, this is what it is. And they like to take those words and chop them up and try to take certain parts, and they try to attack on that, which the founding fathers said, no, this is what this means. This is what we need to do. Without the second, what else falls? Do we lose our Fourth Amendment? Do we lose our Fifth Amendment? Do we lose everything in between? And that's just a slippery slope that I don't want to see happen.
Right.
So you guys started off in New Hampshire, and now you've moved to South Dakota. What was the mindset about moving across the country?
1,823 miles away. Not that I had to do that drive way too many times. So we were in a really remote part of New Hampshire. And it was geographically isolated is the way how I like to put it, where, there was the town itself is 3,000 people. Actually, the town that we started in was 1,100 people that you can't even buy a gallon of milk or, you can't even buy a gallon of gas or milk in it. But the town that we were operating out of was 3,000 people. And like the next biggest town of, 15,000 people, it's only 30 miles away, but it's an hour drive just because New England roads, if you've ever been out there, I mean, it's I think the cows and goats actually plotted out the courses and we just followed those trails and put highways there. So there's nothing straight, nothing flat. So it's hard to find enough people. So it's like, all right, we're going to start looking at another place. And the first two requirements were business friendly and gun friendly. I mean, actually in the U.S., there's a lot of sowing that happens in either New York or Southern California, but there's no way, both from a business and a gun friendly state, we would even consider it. So, it was where can we keep growing our business and hire enough people, and actually Rapid City is a really, I don't want to say too loud because we don't want to have taken over too much, but it's this perfect size of, it's big enough where we have a lot of services. It's 80,000 people in the city, and within the general commuting distance, it's 110,000. So it's big enough where we can get things done. We can hire people, but yet it's not so big that I hate my life. So I can get out to the Black Hills, get out to the prairie, go shooting, go hunting. And then to see, some of the things that are happening with the Second Amendment out here, just 10 miles down the road from us, they broke ground on it and they're pushing it. They're pushing forward with it as one of the bigger gun ranges that's in the country that's getting built right now. And it's really exciting to see that. And just being in a place where, both business and firearms are respected and appreciated. It's nice. And not that New Hampshire wasn't. New Hampshire, especially when you compare it to the other New England states, it's freaking awesome. It just sucks that you're constantly getting pushed on by those other states that have no interest in dealing with you and actually actively seek to make you go away.
Yeah. We were just up in South Dakota for Pheasant Fest not too long ago.
Oh,
and
okay.
It was an experience. I think I like the state of South Dakota a little bit more now. I think I have a chance to go.
We publicly advertise for people to come to our state and kill our state bird. I mean, what other state does that?
I mean, yeah. I heard the pheasant hunting is fantastic. That's all I know.
It gets wild at times where, I mean, it just starts raining pheasants. Gone out several times. I get out several times a year, and every time when you get into some of those groups, it's just, you can't keep your gun reloaded fast enough. You're just, it's a great time. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it.
So you said that you used to work at Ruger.
Yep.
What was the transition like from going from firearms and to a higher margin product like apparel?
Okay, so here we go. Here in the U.S., it's not a higher margin. So apparel is when you import it with slave labor. It's definitely different. But like a lot of the principles, I still keep in touch with a lot of my coworkers and friends at Ruger. A lot of the stuff that we're doing here as far as manufacturing and design for manufacturing, it's all those things that I learned while I was there. And that really helps with us making a competitive product. I think I learned a ton there as far as how to make stuff. And it all applies whether you're assembling a rifle or if you're assembling, a fanny pack. It's the principles of like, let's set up a process and be efficient about it, is the same. And just, we have different machines and then we have different, I guess, skill levels. And so, and that's, I would say one of the harder parts is with firearms manufacturing, it's all CNC. It's CNCs are making those rifles. and sure, you have to set it up, and yes, you have to monitor them. But like with sewing, it's still, we automate as much as we can, and we have some, but just the nature of sewn products, because they're not rigid, you can't grab onto them like you can a receiver. There's not places you can locate on. It requires someone at the end, like putting two pieces of fabric together and manually guiding it through machines, and so it's definitely more human touching. There's a lot of handwork that goes in. It's still, we really work hard at developing our sewers into craftsmen, because it takes that craftsman touch to get it to close up and look good at the end. So yeah, it was definitely a transition. And it was definitely scary in the beginning, because you're always told, oh my goodness, find a good company, find a good career, stay with them. And Ruger was my dream job. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I moved out to New Hampshire to go work for them. So I'm a gun nut, and that's what I love to do. And so it was definitely like a leap of faith, like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? But they were really good to me and taught me a ton, and I can't thank them enough.
I love the fact that you come from the shooter perspective, the shooter mindset, the hunter perspective, the hunting mindset, the competition shooter, the competition mindset. You live the community, right? Like you're not pigeonholed into one bucket. And I think it shows in how you design and manufacture. But I think that it also, from a customer perspective, it feels good to know that someone just didn't have an idea one day and was like, hey, I'm going to make some money off of this. Like, you're in the community and you get that feedback.
Right.
So I think that it's really cool.
The last match, that I said I was in Pueblo, Colorado. I had 3 products that we've been working on for a while with me, and it snowed 2 to 3 feet of snow like a couple days before the match. So it was just gross weather. But it makes it fun and memorable. So, let's go and let's do it. But I had 3 different products that we've been working on for a while. And I was there using them, testing them, trying them out, talking with with all the other people at the matches, kind of getting their thoughts on it. And, we've refined a little bit on the one now because of this. The other 2, I think, are pretty close to launching if we can find a hole in our production schedule. And so, I think that helps a ton. It's not some big boardroom where someone's looking at like a market research survey and said, oh, our customers say we need to come out with a widget that does this. We're actually out there, and it's not just me. We've got other employees who are going out and about to these events, and we really try to listen to the customers and learn from our own personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the board or meeting with our customers. Say you need this, you get probably hundreds of requests from customers for certain things. What makes you decide, hey, that's a good idea, and hey, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to touch that.
Well, I mean, so we get bombarded with requests, and it really it comes down to what we think the potential is and where, because usually there isn't anything that we're solving that is like, it's not out there. We're taking a problem that already has a solution, but it can definitely be improved on. And I think it's looking at like, okay, how much of an impact can we make with our design efforts? If it's just a marginal improvement, as much as we want to do everything, we just kind of have to pick and choose, because honestly, design time, design work, it's really expensive as far as both time and money. And then, so it's really just seeing where we can have the most impact with that certain issue, and also looking at what niche does it go against. We do a lot with competitive long range shooting, which is a weird little niche within the firearms industry. Is this something that can only apply there, or can we also apply it to the hunting world and trying to find that? Or, we do a lot, like I said, with military and law enforcement. Is it something that can carry and cross multiple different disciplines? That also kind of plays into that. And then also looking at like, if it's just going to be, if it's already being taken over by imports, everybody wants a range bag. Everybody, I want a range bag. Well, what do you want your range bag to do differently than what's already out there? And that's kind of, we haven't come up with, we have range bags that we've made, but none that we've really released, just because the delta in what's out there versus what we want to do isn't great enough to really justify putting a ton of effort into it. So yeah, it's a tougher, that I would say that's a really tough part of our business. And actually my management team and I just this morning kind of had a talking of how we've got a list 40 products deep that are like, all right, we really want to do this. And we reshuffle those in priority. And it's a lot of just asking customers what they think, talking within our group here that says, all right, I think we can have a really good impact. And then, just trying to make the best decision and move forward.
No, I totally understand. Coming from manufacturing previously, the amount of people who are like, well, you need to do this. I'm like, okay, cool. We could custom do it, but you need to order so many units. Well, me and 10 of my friends will buy it. Well,
right. Oh my goodness. Right. And like packs, like we get requests to do all sorts of different packs. And I mean, this pack right here, we sat there and spent hundreds of hours of R&D time getting all those parts and pieces together and making sure they all fit. And then after that, it's okay, how can we make it so all the parts and pieces always fit together? And how can we design it in a way so it's easy for the sewing side, for the production side? And like, you can't do that if you're just going to do 10 of something. And, especially when it comes to more complex geometry like that. And so, as much as we want to help out you and your 10 friends, like the amount of work that it takes, it doesn't make sense.
No, I'm 100% with you on that one.
Yeah. But at the same time too, so our biggest item that we still manufacture, one of our biggest items on our lineup is custom suppressor covers. When you go to our website, you pick out the colors you want, you put in your length and diameter, and we make it to that spec. And part of it is because we've automated that whole process in between ordering and once it gets to the store. It's mainly developing those patterns. When they put in the length and diameter, if you put in 7.51 for the length and the next person puts in 7.52, the computer makes two completely different patterns for that because it just feeds from our website into we have a big CNC cutting machine, and it stretches the pattern accordingly. It writes down the order number onto the fabric. So that way, when it gets down to the sewers, it's basically a large scale production run, but it's with a custom touch to it. So there are ways to do custom work, but you have to be creative with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's really cool that you still have like the customization. Cause a lot of people choose to go in a different route for that.
Right.
So Cole-Tac has been growing year on year on year. You've been an industry partner of ours since 2020, 2021, somewhere around in there.
Industry partner, sure. But like personal, I don't know. I think I bought my life membership in 2016, 2017. So a while.
Well, thank you for that. Right?
No.
That's amazing. Great plug for our life memberships. Get yours at gunowners.org.
Hey, brought to you by Gun Owners.
But no, I mean, it's been so great to watch your all's growth and to see the long-term success. And I think that, in the next 3, 5, 10 years from now, the product offering that you're going to have is going to be bigger and better. And what I love the most is like everything traces back to the core mission and the core value. And you're not having to compromise your morals to purchase something. And we might not think of it in that realm, but we talk a lot about voting and voting with your feet and voting with your dollar. And when you vote with your dollar for an American-made product that supports the Second Amendment, you're doing more than just getting the product that you want. You are adding value in the values that you identify with. And it may take a little bit longer. You may have to save up, for a couple extra weeks to get the product. But it's that personal responsibility and that personal choice that really moves the needle long term and allows us to add back the trades, to add back the fortitude of industries within the firearm space that we're losing, and outside of them, right? And so it's incredibly valuable that we understand that we have more power than just the ballot box. We have more power than just writing and sending an email to a legislator. Those are very powerful tools, but we also have the ability to vote with our dollar.
Oh, for sure. And that's one thing that I think we really stick close to the firearms community, because I think they do as a whole value the American flag being put on products and understand that and are willing to pay a little bit more. And when you get that item, it's, for us at least, it's a lifetime warranty. So you buy it and we're taking care of you for life, no matter how obnoxious some of those customer service requests are. We've had some pretty wild ones, and we honor it because it's the right thing to do, and it's the way how we'd operate. And and kind of like what you said, so like all of our products, when they go out, we have our ladies sit there, and I shouldn't say ladies because we have guys too. We have our sewers. They sign their name on every little thing that they get done. So Marlena made that rifle case. It's like when you get it, we're trying to have that connection with the customer, saying, hey, this is made by someone here in the US who is trying to send their kids to dance recital lessons, dance lessons, or is going to go eat at the local restaurant here in town. And so it's helping out, not just that how do I get to that? It's not just, you're not just buying an item and getting benefit from it. You're also helping your local community, or, at least within the US. And it's not going overseas to fund people who really don't like us.
Yeah. And beyond that, it's always been very, I don't know how to say this politely, so I'm just going to say it outright. It's always struggled to understand the cognitive dissonance, because when you are importing something that is made with slave labor, or you are importing something from someone that hates our rights, hates America, like, you're part of the problem. Like you're allowing them to continue the practices, whether you wish to be a willing participant or not. You are to some degree. And I think for a lot of people, that the education part is the hardest part. We're partnered with 9 Line. We had them on the podcast, and they were talking about the testing that they do on cotton because of some sketchy practices that they found from some of the people that they were getting. And it's an educational thing that we don't think about as consumers anymore. Everything is, you get it, you use it, you toss it, and not I'm buying this for a purpose and this is going to be with me for a long time. And so when you get those valuable pieces like yours that have that lifetime warranty and it is manufactured correctly and it is in the US and you have that personal responsibility, you get to take pride in the purchase versus just that instant gratification. And it's two different levels, it's two different playing fields, and we shouldn't try to make them equal.
The military has kind of set up a system where it's called the Berry Amendment, where if you're manufacturing sewn products for the military, the materials must be sourced in the U.S., the labor must be sourced in the U.S., and it has to be U.S. made, because when they saw all the sewing going overseas in the 80s and 90s, they said, hey, we're going to have a problem with just uniform manufacturing. We won't have enough uniforms to make for our soldiers. And so they made that choice then. But as far as the private consumer side, that has not happened. And I'm not advocating for the government to step in there, because every time they try to fix something, they make it worse. I want consumers to make that choice on their own and realize, like, hey, if you have a problem, like, we have a phone number. When you call in, it's going to be myself or two other people answering the phone, and we're going to talk through this issue, or if you have a question, someone's going to answer who can actually help you out. And that's something that you can't get when it's some of these other places where you're just, like you said, instant gratification. It shows up on a boat and we just distribute it across the U.S.
Yeah, I think it's a level of craftsmanship too.
Yeah.
And that can't be understated, right? Because I think we're missing a lot of that. Things aren't passed down anymore. Everyone is so used to the 2-day shipping, like instant, everything. And
yeah.
And then they complain about how fast-paced life is. And it's like, well, you can't have it both ways. And it does take a certain amount of sacrifice, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
I think we just need to bring back American manufacturing and bring back American jobs and take pride in that. I mean, the norm now with this instant gratification, we've seen it across a ton of spaces where if your product isn't available within days of them ordering it, you'll get 12 emails going, hey, where's my stuff? Or, hey, why is this not there? Or what is going on? I mean, I'm you guys doing custom suppressor covers, I'm guessing there's a wait period on it, a little bit of time to get everything done. You're probably receiving emails within 48 hours going, hey, where's my stuff?
So on our custom suppressor cover checkout, there's a box that you check saying, hey, I understand there's a 2 to 3 week lead time. I have the data that shows at 12 days, I don't know what it is, 12 days, the number of emails, it's parabolic. It just starts skyrocketing on how many, hey, just a status update. Where's my order? How's everything going? And so we say 2 to 3 weeks. Right now we're sitting at like 8 and 9 days, which is pretty good. And we really push hard for that, mainly so we don't waste the time. One, we want to make our customers happy, but two, like the business side of it, I don't want my people answering emails saying it's going to be another 3 days. It just all of a sudden they get the shipping notification. They're like, oh, cool. So yeah, that's the instant gratification definitely is tough. And I think, 8 to 9 days on a custom made item, I hope most people would understand that's pretty dang good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Well, I ordered a holster one time and they were like, yeah, it's about 12 weeks out. I think I waited until about 20 weeks to go, hey, just checking in on this, making sure we're good.
You guys still alive?
Yeah, you're still making stuff. Yeah, but that's, and Kailey put it right, is that, everything has become instant and everything, the fast pace of life, people are complaining how fast it is. It's like, well, we kind of set it up that way. We've got fast food, and you've got delivery apps to your house for food and groceries and everything. And I mean, you saw that a lot during COVID, where a lot of people were taking advantage of that and using it. But now it's kind of like, there are days where I'm like, cool, I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to be a human. But at the same time, now I'm like, I'm being very antisocial. So I want to be social. Like, human beings are social creatures, and we need to socialize with stuff. So I want to say this out loud to people. It's like, go be social. Go join the Second Amendment hobby and go be social with people and have fun and go to the range. And that's a big part of our hobby, or the Second Amendment and total, is being social, going out with like-minded individuals to go have fun. I mean, you just went and did a long range competition, which, if you haven't done long range, highly recommend. It's probably the most fun you can have. But to go out and do that, I mean, it gives you a chance to talk to people who are like-minded, learn stuff, try out new equipment, all the above. It's a good time.
Yeah. Well, and I would say my plug towards long range, why I really like long range shooting, is I'm kind of a geek. And so there's a blend of science in there. I mean, trying to fit all the ballistics calculations, all the work that goes into reloading. Reloading is like a subset skill within that. And it's not just like, hey, how cheap can I make it? It's people go bananas for trying to get every aspect of that bullet and that powder and that primer seated just perfectly. That it's this weird rabbit hole that seems like it has a bunch of side channels, and there's enough science in there that it intrigues me, and I really like learning things and trying things out and exploring, and it's a good place for that. Long range shooting is a great place for that kind of mind.
Oh yeah, you don't understand the dopamine hit hitting 1,200 yards multiple times until you've done it. Like I did a long range class a couple years back, and I hit 1,200 6 times in a row. And the dopamine hit that I had, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And then
cocaine.
Because you're adjusting at 1,200 yards, you've got windage. There's so much math going into it that you're just like, okay, so I got windage and I got elevation. I got to make sure I'm right. I've got my Strylock app open and I'm putting in all my numbers, making sure we're good. Yeah. The nerd in me came out, and I was like, this is the most fun I've ever had at the gun range in my life.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun. Kailey, when are you going to shoot long range?
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, I think that's a really good question. I've only ever shot long range once. I've never done a competition with it. It's definitely something I want to do. I live in East Tennessee. The problem with East Tennessee is we have a lot of mountains. So what we consider a long range in my area versus what other people consider long range is slightly more difficult. I live in the mountains.
Right.
So it does require some driving.
See, well, but it doesn't have to. So the other thing that's, I think, taking a ton of popularity that I think is neat is long range rimfire and even air rifle stuff. I mean, the amount of, it's the same principles. It's just, instead of a 1,200 yard shot being a long range, it's a 300 yard shot with a 22. And it's like, you kind of get the same, in fact, I don't think it's funnier when you're sitting there and you shoot a little 22 and you can see the bullet going through the air and hit a plate out at 300, and you could barely hear it go against the plate. So just dial it back and you can still have fun with it.
Oh, absolutely. But
I've seen air guns go out very far.
Really?
So
air guns are crazy.
Oh, yeah. So a good friend of mine, Ton Jones, used to work for Air Force Air Guns. He was telling me about a competition he was going. He went to go sight in, and the field that he was in had dandelions in it with the little white puffers. And he goes, that was annoying me. So he shot them to get them off. And the range officer came over and goes, Ton, I know you're sighting in and having fun, but you got to stop doing that. Because they would just puff. And then he walked over he told me the story. He walked over the table with somebody, and I guess the longest target was like 1,100 yards or something like that. And he goes, I can do it in 3 shots. And they're like, no, you can't. And he goes, okay. And he hit 1,100 yards with an air gun in 3 shots. He's like, I took one, it went low. I took another one, it went high. I figured it out and I shot it. And I'm like, you have more fun than I do. I mean,
that's really
I'm
cool.
just jealous.
No, it's pretty impressive what you can do with air rifles now. And it's the other, I guess, neat thing about air rifles that I kind of giggle about is there's no laws on them. You can just have them delivered to your house, and like people are taking big game in Africa with these things now. I mean, they're pretty darn serious, but
it's the best kept secret.
I know.
Don't you said the quiet parts out loud. You can't. You said it. Now the government's going to want to.
Good luck. Good luck.
Exactly.
They'll mess it up anyway.
We'll fight them on it. It's fine. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Give everyone your socials, where they can find you, how to order product, all that fun stuff.
Right. So everything's on our website, Cole-Tac.com, and we're fairly active on Instagram and Facebook, and try to post videos on YouTube here and there. We do have a silly TikTok that's mainly just shenanigans around the shop. That's a whole political. I'm still torn on that one, but I don't know how we manage that one. And then you go on our website. You can check us out there. If you have any questions, send us an email, give us a call. Like I said, it's going to be just a small handful of people who will actually answer the phone if you do call in, and we'll be more than happy to help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. It was a great episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell for notification. Leave a 5-star review on all podcasting apps. Make sure to go to goals.gunowners.org to sign up for our GOA convention coming up in August. We will see you there.